If my dear friend and colleague Kevin McCarthy does decide to run, I think he'd make an outstanding majority leader.
But there is still an undercurrent here that has not been dealt with. The guys in Congress and gals rushed this thing through. The base is not happy about it. They wanted to see conservative, probably someone out of the Tea Party caucus at least vie for the position. They clamped it down early, did not give them a chance to ramp it up, and that's going to come back to bite.
I think Michael Steele is on to something very big. A lot of people criticize Michael Steele. He didn't do this, didn't do that. He was too moderate to run the RNC. I get that. I've always liked him. But, he's not conservative enough for me. I mean, who is, right? You can joke about that. I can be self-deprecating on this. But he is right about this. The fact that the House leadership moved as quickly as they did to try to put the narrative out that Kevin McCarthy is basically the only one who has a chance. It started with Cantor, but clearly Boehner wants this to happen. And quick. It's got to be Kevin McCarthy. Oh, even Eugene Robinson, the liberal from the Washington Post, even Eugene Robinson was, well, he's a nice guy, might not be tough enough, but he's an...
My question about Kevin McCarthy, I don't know all that well, but obviously I do know him a bit. He's a very nice guy.
It's really, they move fast. So to me, it seems like they didn't listen to the people of Virginia at all. That they're not getting what is going on in this country, the Republican leadership. It's business as usual. In fact, we learned last night that John Boehner was at an event at a Washington, D.C. steakhouse, I bet it was Capitol Grill, with a bunch of lobbyists that were invited there by the Chamber of Commerce. This happened last night in Washington. I tweeted about it. And at this meeting with the lobbyists, he said and reassured them that don't worry, this is going to be business as usual. This Cantor thing this is just a pothole. We're rolling right over it. Boehner didn't get anything from this. I didn't learn anything from this. At least that's what I'm seeing. I held out hope. I had at least 48 hours of hope, but now it's pretty obvious. A man who certainly hopes to challenge Kevin McCarthy for this House majority position is Louie Gohmert from the great state of Texas. We're going to get a sense from him about this McCarthy cram-down, a really interesting piece in Politico, by the way, called The House of Kevin McCarthy. And it starts like this. Sounds really like a man of the people. It starts like this. He hangs out with billionaire Elon Musk, rides bikes with actor Kevin Spacey, and counts Arnold Schwarzenegger and Condoleezza Rice as his buddies. When schmoozing with celebrities, the one-time deli owner, Kevin McCarthy, often snaps a selfie on his iPhone. Oh, my. That's reason enough not to have him House Majority Leader. Oh, my. Can we lose the selfie obsession? He'll show his collection to anyone who wants to see it. He gushes about his painting of President Abraham Lincoln in his office or the modernized version of Washington crossing the Delaware displayed in the conference room. But don't let this affability fool you. Kevin Owen McCarthy lives and breathes the Washington's House of Representatives. He even sleeps in his office. So this is the real attempt of, he's cool, but he's a regular guy. So it's a cram down. Joining us now, Louie Gohmert. All right, Congressman, how many votes do you have tallied up for your run for the majority position?
Well, I didn't have any. I thought Jeb Hensarling was going to do it. I told Jeb if he did, I would support him. And then it looked like, well, it's coming down to two people. The only two people that had a shot were McCarthy and Pete Sessions. And I feel about immigration the way you do, and I thought you had a great interview with my friend Mick Mulvaney, because there are just too many people that think, oh yeah, we can do an immigration deal, and then all the enforcement will work out later. I thought you made splendid points, and so I couldn't have supported Pete without an absolute, unequivocal commitment that there would be no immigration bill until the border was absolutely secured, not as determined by the administration, but by the people in the states with borders. And I got that absolute commitment. And then late last night, I didn't hear from Pete. I heard from his chief of staff to my chief of staff that he was withdrawing. And I know that, Boehner is normally the Boehner mode of operation, modus operandi for those of us that went to law school. But he normally will make offers, committee assignments, leadership assignments, whatever sounds good. And then if you buck those, then you get into threats, and then you get into staff threats. And then last but not least, if nothing else works, he will cry. But in this occasion, apparently he was going straight to the threats. And I don't know what has happened, but I do know Raul Labrador is seriously thinking about it. But some of us know this cannot be business as usual. And since there has been this flurry of activity by the leadership, we can't tell America that nobody here in Washington got the message. So we're going to have an alternative one way or another. Whether it's Raul, me, somebody, we're going to have an alternative. And but we have got to have more time. And let me remind you, I don't find anybody around here that remembers, but I've been reminding people that the reason I voted for John Boehner on the second ballot in January of 2006, when we had 1 year of Tom DeLay's 2-year term, was because John Boehner on the second ballot said, look, I know a lot of you guys don't know me as a leader because you weren't around when I was conference chair, but let me tell you, this is perfect for me. If I have not convinced you by November I am the best leader for this party, then vote me out in November. You'll know within 10, 11 months. I mean, it'll be very clear. This is a great test run for me. Well, as you would remember, in November, Election Day of 2006, we lost the majority. And while all Republicans were just gut shot, we could hardly breathe. We couldn't imagine. We wanted a female Speaker of the House soon, but not Nancy Pelosi. And when we started thinking about the chairmanships that were going to, the extreme leftist. So while we were all gut shot, couldn't even think, our leader, John Boehner, was on the phone calling people saying, hey, this wasn't fair. Well, I didn't get a full 2 years. This wasn't a proper chance. Let me have a full 2 year. And so anyway, before anybody else could organize, he already had a majority locked up, so he got 2 more years. You may remember 2008 didn't go so well. So this is the mode of operation. Let's rush this through before people have a chance to organize. But, Laura, this isn't some union where you can just have a card check election and rush through this and crown some leader. We need to be thoughtful about something this important. And if it ends up being Kevin, so be it. He's a great guy. The article is right, one of the most likable guys in the country. But his ratings for all the conservative rating agencies is lower than Eric Cantor's was. So we really need time to think about this. We know Eric's not leaving until July 31st. We've got time. There's no reason to rush this election.
We're talking to Louie Gohmert from the great state of Texas, one who some people had hoped would be the conservative, the Tea Party, whatever you want to call it, choice for House Majority Leader, but instead, he's running for Republican Study Committee. The conservative bloc there wants to get it done.
Laura, the reason I announced for Republican Study Committee, the purpose of the RSC has always been to hold the leadership accountable. And you may recall, I ran and didn't win against Jim Jordan in 2010. And Eric Cantor was one of those that came rushing in with a whole slew of folks at the last minute to make sure that they voted for someone other than me for RSC chair. But normally, it's really weird in leadership elections in Congress. It's not like any other election you've ever been part of. The winner is not the best qualified, the most popular. It is always in Congress. The winner is the person that one more than half believe is most likely to win, because a majority always votes for the person they believe is going to win. So if you want to win, the only thing you have to do is convince a majority that you are going to win, and then you do win. That's how you win. And John Boehner has been very good at that. So,
well, let me read to you. This is Bill Kristol's piece today. It's in the printed Weekly Standard. It's called "Our Dead Broke Leaders," and he references, of course, the historic Cantor defeat in Virginia. And then the second paragraph says, "The reaction in our nation's capital, 90 miles away, pretend it didn't happen. Or if you had to acknowledge it happened, pretend it had no significance. Or if you had to acknowledge it was of some significance, pretend it was merely a product of unique and local circumstances. Above all, do not draw any meaningful conclusions from what happened. And truly above all, don't change your behavior in any important way." And then, of course, he goes on to the rush to McCarthy for the House majority position. And look, I'll hand it to these establishment types. I'll hand it to them. They won't take no for an answer. So people say the Tea Party are a bunch of fanatics. I say the most fanatical people out there today are the people who are seeing what's happening in our southwest border, seeing new refugee centers being set up. You might think this is Iraq. Looking at the refugee centers, looks like the Mosul, but refugee centers in the United States set up. They see this, and they actually look at lobbyists last night, and they say, it's going to be business as usual. Don't worry. Meaning we're going to have immigration reform. We're going to be pushing for this. We're going to get this through. They're fanatics. I mean, Rand Paul's out there saying maybe we could do this, and I wrote a response to what Rand Paul is suggesting.
I'm really shocked Rand is out there pushing for this at the worst possible time. He's such a smart guy. I don't know what he's thinking.
Rand is missing an opportunity if he doesn't turn it around. He's
well, maybe Grover Norquist can save the day for him.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. But regardless of that, I mean, so Boehner runs this very heavy-handed leadership in the House, and you do need a strong leader. But his view of the Tea Party today, or the conservatives and the conservative coalition in the House, is what? What's his view of it?
He's made clear that he thinks it needs to be put in its proper place. He backed off of declaring full-scale war, but a good indication of what you're talking about, though, the power. It's amazing. It reminds me a bit of the leadership you read about King Saul. But Eric Cantor was one of the most noble, righteous guys up here when I first got here. Conservative, from a conservative district, a truly good guy. And if you remember, and I know you've got a great memory, he and Boehner locked horns a number of times early on.
I could draw
all
the
you have
list
to
of all
do
these
is
people.
get around our speaker for very long, and look what he's done with a great guy, Eric Cantor, which I would submit led to Eric's defeat. If he was standing up like he was before, he wouldn't have lost.
We come to Washington and we change. I mean, we evolve, we want to be liked, we want to be part of the in-crowd.
Not all of us, but
Louie, I got to get to something. We're almost out of time.
I've got the courage to run. I just want to get somebody that's got a chance.
Okay, well, so you're backing Labrador, who isn't where I am on immigration, but I guess he's better than Kevin McCarthy, but I don't know by how much. But let's move on to this very quickly. We're almost out of time. This vote yesterday, you had an amendment that would have stopped housing subsidies to illegal immigrants on a piece of legislation. The amendment that you proposed, it's only, I think it's 0.4% of the overall subsidies go to illegal immigrants.
It's bigger than that, but we knew for sure it was at least that much. I could only get 160 votes. Are you kidding me? This was low-hanging fruit. This should have been an easy vote for people. I couldn't believe it.
And Eric Cantor voted against the amendment, and Renee Elmers voted against the amendment. So the two races that we focused on exposing their misrepresentation or their outright lies on their immigration position, That was exposed in their vote against Louie Gohmert's amendment yesterday. And so Elmer said, I'm hard charging. These people aren't going to get benefits. Same thing with Cantor. Oh, no, I'm not for that. Well, it turns out he's not only for the DREAM Act and the Enlist Act. He's for housing subsidies for illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
So you
We're not
exposed
gonna cut them off.
No. You exposed that yesterday. When are we going to learn about these all these the Republican leadership positions?
Well, I sure hope it's very soon, because this country's in trouble, and it needs strong leadership, strong principle leadership. We got strong leadership. We need strong principle leadership, and we've got to have an alternative. We will have an alternative, but we need more time. This isn't a union ram-it-through election. This needs to be thoughtful and well-discussed, and not have our speaker, as he in his declining time, actually get to choose his successor. This isn't a monarchy.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Louie Gohmert, we really appreciate it. And
Thanks
he hopes
so much,
to be
Laura.
new head of the Republican Study Committee, very important position in the House of Representatives. We'll take a break. They're not learning. What happens if they don't learn this time? Don't go away.
The Laura Ingraham Show.